The interpretation of narratives is to some extent subjective because everyone can experience art differently. At the same time, using literary analysis, we can still explain the most reasonable meanings that the artist meant to convey or that the audience is likely to understand. To understand themes of any work of art, however, spoilers are involved. Heavy spoilers. So consider this your spoiler warning. Death Stranding Director's Cut is a game full of complex themes about life and afterlife. In part 1 of my Death Stranding Biblical Themes video, we discussed how Kojima utilizes many motifs and plot devices to convey themes about connections. Even so, there are still many other ideas and themes that Kojima raises in the game, some of which use very Christian concepts and symbols. In this video, part 2, we are going to answer the question, how does Death Stranding use Christian ideas to convey religious themes? It is unknown if Kojima is a Christian because he is very private about his personal life. What is clear, however, is that Kojima is a very well-read artist and understands many important ideas, including that of Christianity.
I won't mess it up. See, I want your face to be a kind of testament.
In fact, beyond using the Lord's name in casual ways, there are explicit references to Christianity in the form of an interview titled Da Vinci's Madonna of the Yarnwinder and an email titled Gourds Are Like Noah's Ark. The first of those, the one about Madonna of the Yarnwinder, is particularly important because it references the idea of a spindle. In the last video, we discussed how the rope, or thread, is an important motif for connection. Madonna of the Yarnwinder combines both the spindle and rope motif with that of a cross, the universally known Christian symbol of the crucifixion of Jesus. Death Stranding uses the cross in many other places for religious themes, which we will discuss. One of those themes is the resurrection power of a Messianic figure. In the game, Sam Porter Bridges is known as a repatriate. It is implied that there are very few repatriates.
You're a repatriate. That makes you very special.
And later in the game, it seems like he may be the only one, as him becoming a repatriate is what causes the first Death Stranding. The game foreshadows his resurrection power by showing a cross scar on Sam's stomach. The reason for this is initially unclear. Near the end of the game, it is revealed that as a baby, Sam was accidentally killed by Bridget when Cliff was trying to escape with him. To atone for her sin, as Amelie, she brings him back to life on the beach by healing his bullet wound with the symbol of a cross, which allows Sam to come back to life and repatriate for the first time. Sam's ability to come back to life then becomes an integral part of the plot. He dies and comes back when his wife's death causes a void out. He dies and comes back during the destruction of Central Knot City. And he dies and comes back every time you die in the normal world of the game. As a repatriate, Sam doesn't stay dead. Sam, through Amelie, has power over life and death. It's also possible that he had something to do with Lou's resurrection as well. It is unclear, but through the forming of a spectral umbilical cord, it is implied that Lou has died. Yet suddenly, Lou comes back to life, holding Amelie's quipu. This suggests either that Sam resurrected Lou or Amelie did. The quipu suggests that it is Amelie, but Amelie's beach has been disconnected from all other beaches. So, perhaps it was Sam instead who resurrected Lou. Regardless, Death Stranding seems to indicate that a special person, a chosen one, has power over life and death, just like the true Messiah, Jesus. God raised him up, loosing the pangs of death, because it was not possible for him to be held by it. For David says concerning him, I saw the Lord always before me, for he is at my right hand that I may not be shaken. Therefore my heart was glad, and my tongue rejoiced. My flesh also will dwell in hope. For you will not abandon my soul to Hades, or let your Holy One see corruption. You have made known to me the paths of life. You will make me full of gladness with your presence. Acts chapter 2, verses 24 to 28. Like Jesus, Sam is a messianic figure that is not abandoned to the other side, but he is rescued on the beach by Amelie, and it is not possible for him to be held by death. A second major theme in Death Stranding is that of sacrifices made to save the world. Early in the game, Fragile tells a story about how Higgs tricked her into destroying Little Knot City. Higgs then gives her a choice of teleporting away and letting South Knot City be destroyed, or running through Timefall to throw the nuclear weapon into a tar pit to save the city. Fragile chooses to save the city, but in the process she is soaked in timefall over her entire body, with the exception of her head, losing decades of her life. In this way, Fragile is a messianic figure. Even more than Fragile, though, Sam and Amelie are truly sacrificial figures. When they discover that Amelie is the EE, Sam must risk his own life to persuade Amelie not to bring about the extinction event. Even though Sam is a repatriate and cannot die, if he fails to convince Amelie, he may be stuck outside of the world, on Amelie's beach, forever, if he fails to persuade her to stop the extinction event.
You'll save the world, but you'll be stranded outside of it. Forever.
Amelie is persuaded to stop the extinction event, but in turn she must make a sacrifice of being alone on her beach until mankind's extinction event, the last stranding. Amelie is persuaded to stop the extinction event, but in turn she must make a sacrifice of being forever alone on her beach until the last stranding. In other words, Amelie has to be alone until mankind becomes extinct. This sacrifice of hers is stated by her and implied in the ending during the inauguration of the president of the UCA. Fragile, Sam, and Amelie are all messianic figures that save the world through major sacrifices, reminiscent of the sacrifice of the true Messiah, Jesus. I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. Galatians chapter 2, verse 20. All three of these characters demonstrate Messiah-like sacrifices for the sake of mankind. In the third theme, the motif of the cross is again used, this time to convey the idea of a community built by a messianic figure. As Sam builds the UCA chiral network, it is revealed that the chiral network is built on the sacrifices of bridge babies. In fact, the network activation key is also a bridge baby. Also, the last chiral network point before going to Edge Knot City, known as a chiral relay, is built in the shape of a cross. It is very clear that the chiral relay foundation is in the shape of a cross. The community of the UCA, as symbolized by the connected chiral network, is built on the foundation of a cross, the sacrifice of bridge babies. In Christianity, the Christian community is built on the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. For we are God's fellow workers. You are God's field, God's building. According to the grace of God given to me, like a skilled master builder, I laid a foundation, and someone else is building upon it. Let each one take care how he builds upon it, for no one can lay a foundation other than that which is laid, which is Jesus Christ. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 9 to 14. An even stronger connection is when Sam is connecting the chiral network via cupids. When Sam connects the chiral network, the Odradek scanner goes from a 5-segment shape to a cross shape. This may seem coincidental, but I don't think it is. The Odradek only goes into the cross shape when Sam uses the cupids and when he encounters BTs. You could argue that when he encounters BTs that it is a crosshair shape pointing toward the BT. However, it seems like it could also be a cross used to ward off evil, like when crosses are used to ward off vampires. Only in this case, it's ghosts or BTs. The Odradek going into a shape of a Christian cross is further supported by the origin of the term Odradek from the short story The Cares of a Family Man by Franz Kafka, in which the original Odradek is implied to have crossbars and reference the cross. Even more importantly, however, is that Sam is the one who builds the chiral network. As he connects the UCA and builds the community, he makes a T-pose at the same time the Odradek is making a cross. This is especially Christian because at the moment of chiral connection, Sam floats up as if he is hung up on a cross. Both the cross on the Odradek and Sam's own cross pose occur every time he connects a cupid, implying a sort of messianic role as the builder of the community. Similarly, in Christianity, Jesus is the builder of the Christian community, the church. And Jesus answered him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loose in heaven." Then he strictly charged the disciples to tell no one that he was the Christ. Matthew chapter 16, verses 17 to 20. In Death Stranding, Sam is the messianic figure, the hero that builds the much-needed community that mankind needs. The last theme I want to cover today is the idea of visions and signs of a coming apocalypse. In the game, after Amelie resurrects Sam and causes the Death Stranding, many people start receiving nightmares of the future. This condition is referred to as dooms. Dooms are dreams of the extinction event or the last stranding, visions of an apocalypse. The Bible too has numerous prophets having visions of God's judgment of the world, such as that of the prophet Amos.
Our nightmares are your dreams.
This is what the Lord God showed me. Behold, he was forming locusts when the latter growth was just beginning to sprout, and behold, it was the latter growth after the king's mowings. When they had finished eating the grass of the land, I said, O Lord God, please forgive. How can Jacob stand? He is so small. The Lord relented concerning this. It shall not be, said the Lord. This is what the Lord God showed me. Behold, the Lord God was calling for a judgment by fire, and it devoured the great deep, and was eating up the land. Then I said, O Lord God, please cease. How can Jacob stand? He is so small. The Lord relented concerning this. This also shall not be, said the Lord God. Amos chapter 7, verses 1 to 6. Besides visions of judgment, there are also specific signs of the apocalypse. In the game, a phenomenon often seen is that of the inverted rainbow without blue. The inverted rainbow appears when there will soon be, or there is, timefall and BTs. The world then experiences disastrous rain, known as the timefall. This is seen at the beginning of the game when Sam is at the incinerator and right before the sinful knot city void out. In the Bible, a rainbow is God's sign to Noah that he would never again destroy the world after an apocalyptic flood. And God said, This is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all generations. I have set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the water shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on earth. God said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on earth. Genesis chapter 9, verses 12 to 17. God destroyed the world with rain, and he uses a rainbow to indicate the end of using rain to destroy the world. In the Bible, the Hebrew word for rainbow is just bow, as in a bow and arrow. God hangs his bow, the rainbow, pointing upwards to indicate that he will never attack the world again with the rain and the flood. And instead, his wrath will be pointed upwards towards heaven, towards Jesus Christ. However, in Death Stranding, the rainbow is inverted, pointed downwards, indicating that there is a judgment, there is an apocalypse against the earth. Only at the end of the game, after Sam convinces Amelie not to bring about the last stranding, does the game end with a regular rainbow with blue, and a rain that is not judgment, not timefall, but regular rain. Death Stranding Director's Cut is a game that is full of complex and deep storytelling, conveying themes using many symbols, motifs, and even religious imagery. In fact, this is the first game where I really felt I needed to make 2 biblical themes videos to cover all the important themes that I felt the designer or director wanted to discuss. If you missed the first one and enjoyed this video, you can check out my first video on the biblical themes of Death Stranding. I really enjoyed my Death Stranding experience, even more than the Metal Gear Solid games. I also really enjoyed making these 2 biblical themes videos, and if you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed watching them. That's all I have for you in this video. Bless you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If this video blessed you in some way, please consider watching some of my other videos, subscribing, or sharing with me some of your thoughts in the comments below.